We're here, of course, to attend the Honoring Service and Sacrifice reception to benefit the National Veterans Legal Services Program. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Andy Hendry. I'm the Vice Chairman of Colgate-Palmolive Company, and I'm the honorary chair of the event this year. Why would a vice chair be here? Well, until a few weeks ago, I was the chief legal officer and secretary of Colgate-Palmolive, and they kicked me upstairs because I did that job for 24 years, so I was the perfect Peter Principle person. So they decided it was time maybe to kind of move it along a little bit. So this reception is now in its 6th year. It's here to support the important work of the National Veterans Legal Services Program, helping military service members and veterans obtain the benefits they've earned for disabilities they sustained while serving their country. You know, and the executive director and I were just having a chat before I came up here, and when you think about it, that's kind of, you know, that's the key. These people have earned their benefits. And if they don't get those benefits, their lives cannot move on. And this organization, I'm sure with many other organizations, but this organization as its core value helps ensure that veterans and service members get those benefits. And that is just so critical. This organization is the leading legal advocate for our nation's veterans and service members. Now, I'm very honored to have been given the opportunity to be the chairman, the honorary chairman of this event tonight, and I can tell you my employer, Colgate-Palmolive, is also very honored that we were allowed to participate in this and help in the small way we can. But I just wanted to make it a little personal because at the end of the Vietnam War, I was actually an assistant staff judge advocate. It was a short period of time, the war was ending, assistant staff judge advocate at McGuire Air Force Base. And at that time, many servicemen were returning from a very, very difficult war, as we all know, and I got to see what they face firsthand. And I remember thinking to myself, these are the best people facing the biggest challenges. And that probably is true today. And as many of you, probably all of you in the room know, when you're in the military, it kind of shapes you forever. No matter whatever you go on to do, whether it's a corporate executive or a lawyer or you stay in the military, it has a very big impact on you. And so when I was asked if I would be willing to do this, suffice it to say I kind of jumped at the chance. If I had any hesitation, it was really a question of my worthiness, and I am just so pleased and honored to have been given this opportunity. Now, most of you know this organization, but you know, in summary, the National Veterans Legal Services and its program help veterans of all eras. I was interested in the brochure that they were actually talking about a World War II veteran, but veterans of all eras, and much of this nonprofit organization's work happens very quietly, outside the public eye. You don't see banners, you don't see runs in the park. It's done quietly, it's done in VA offices, it's done in law firms, it's done in the organization's offices, and it's done very quietly. That's where the briefs are written, where the cases are prosecuted, and it's essential work because it is the work that helps our veterans secure justice and receive the benefits that they have been denied at that time and are rightfully entitled to and are so important to their futures. I want to introduce now our Master of Ceremonies for tonight. Most of you probably know him, at least by reputation, CNN anchor and chief Washington correspondent Jake Tapper. He has a show on CNN called The Lead, and that show regularly focuses on the issues that servicemen face and veterans face. He has reported for many years on the men and women of the armed services who wear the uniform and take the oath to serve the country. He has done very, very much to raise the awareness of the American people for the needs of our military and veterans. You may also know that he's a best-selling author, having written a book entitled The Outpost, An Untold Story of American Valor. and it is about an attack on a Combat Outpost Keating in Afghanistan in 2009, and that was a landmark case, and unfortunately, 8 Americans died there. I actually, last night, as I was kind of getting ready for this, looked at a couple of videos that have been offshoots of it, and they are quite moving. So, Jake, thank you very much for everything you have done, for sharing the stories of our veterans and servicemen that are so important to our nation. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Jake Tapper, our Master of Ceremonies tonight.
Thank you so much, Andy, for your very kind introduction and for chairing NVLSP's honorary committee this year. Join me in thanking Andy first. I'm very, very honored to be here tonight. I guess that means I didn't screw it up last year, so that's always a good sign. And to take the time to recognize the incredibly important work that NVLSP does. We show who we are as a nation in how we care for those who have returned from battle, who have the wounds that we can see and the wounds that we cannot see. Too often, we as a nation fall short, and that's where it's important that NVLSP stands and fights that fight for these people who cannot do it for themselves. There's an expression you hear a lot in the military, I'm told, I've got your back. I'll look out for you, it means. I'll make sure you're safe. I'll stand up for you. I'll be there for you when you need me. And the attorneys and the staff at NVLSP have the backs of our veterans and their families and our service members. And they're standing up to ensure that if you're injured or if you're ill because of your service to the United States of America, you will receive the benefits that your nation promised you. And they've been very busy this year working to help our veterans and their families amid the chaos of the VA crisis, which has just been so staggering and so disappointing in so many ways. We have a video to highlight this year's work. Why don't we roll that video?
There were VA healthcare enrollment issues, access issues, falsified records, secret lists, claims backlogged.
This nonprofit is able to accomplish. And it's all thanks to your help. A few of the people who are in the video are here with us this evening, and I'd like for them to stand and be recognized. Verna Jones, the Executive Director of the American Legion. Verna, will you stand? She's over. Verna, thank you for your service, and congratulations on your appointment. We're grateful for your work with NVLSP on behalf of our veterans. Ralph Bazzella with the American Legion is also here with us tonight. Ralph, if you would stand. Ralph, your service and your dedication to your fellow veterans is an inspiration. Thank you for your leadership and your work to help so many who have given so much. Army veteran Deja Harris, who appeared in the video, she's here with us this evening. Deja, please rise. Here she is up here. Deja, thank you for your service in Korea and in Iraq, and thank you for your courage. I think you saw everybody and every single person in this room stood up to thank you for your courage because it represents and is such an inspiration for so many other people. So good for you, and thank you so much. Attorney Noelle Coates, an associate with Hunton & Williams, is here with us tonight. Noelle, I know I saw you earlier. Where are you? Did I not see you? Did I imagine it? I guess, ma'am, all right, it came to me as if a dream. Noelle, if you were here, we would all clap for you. But I would like to ask all of the attorneys from all of the law firms who donate their time to assist NVLSP to stand and be recognized, if you would. Thank you for donating your time. Thank you for donating your legal expertise to help our nation's veterans, your service members, their families. Your work makes a real difference for thousands and thousands of people. NVLSP is not resting on its laurels, of course, as you saw, and the battle continues. On Friday, NVLSP filed a new class action lawsuit against the Secretary of the Army and a number of others involved in administering the Army Board for Correction of Military Records. I'm sure you know something about this. This board impacts thousands of veterans and their families making decisions that impact benefits, employment, and health care, working specifically with two veterans with post-traumatic stress who were rejected by the board's staff. NVLSP filed suit in court on Friday asking for a court order that, we hope, will mean thousands of cases rejected illegally by the court staff will be reviewed. And we hope that NVLSP's actions will restore the board to its original intent, a place of justice for service members and veterans. And when I'm standing here next year, I don't want to be presumptuous, whoever's standing here next year, I hope that we're going to have some good news to share about that lawsuit. So now I'm going to introduce a few more special people first. Attorneys Bart Stichman and Ron Abrams, with whom you're all familiar, the joint executive directors of NVLSP. Bart and Ron, would you please stand? They're getting up there, so we'll let them sit down as I talk about them. Bart co-founded NVLSP in 1980 with David Addlestone. He remains a fierce legal advocate for our veterans. He was part of last Friday's class action lawsuit filing in court. In 1989, Ron left a position with the VA to join NVLSP because he wanted to reform the system. His commitment to veterans, combined with his considerable VA knowledge, has enabled NVLSP to successfully train thousands of veteran advocates, and the number is growing, as you saw from the video. Thank you, Bart and Ron, for all that you do. Now I'd like to ask the hardworking lawyers and staff at NVLSP to stand up, if you would, and we'd like to thank you in particular. Bart and Ron, if we can ask you to stand up one more time. There we go. Thank you so much for the work that you do. It does not go unnoticed, and it does not go unappreciated. And if I could have a personal moment to my colleague, Tim Garrity, a colleague at CNN, who is again this year filming this event for free. Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much for NVLSP. So Ron Flagg, who is the general counsel at the Legal Services Corporation, has volunteered as the chairman of the board of directors for NVLSP since 2005. Ron, would you stand, if you would? There he is. Ron was instrumental, of course, in starting the Lawyers Serving Warriors project. He served on the NVLSP board for more than 20 years. Thank you so much, Ron. And now I'd like to ask the other members of the NVLSP Board of Directors to join Ron in standing. So Ron, you have to stand up a little longer. The board provides key guidance and support to NVLSP. Thank you so much. No gathering, of course, like this would be complete if we did not recognize the service members, veterans, and their families who are here. They sacrifice daily to support the freedoms that all of us enjoy and too often take for granted. So if you are a veteran of our armed forces, or you're now serving in the military, you have a loved one serving in the military, you've lost someone in your family in military service to America, please rise and be recognized right now, if you would. Thank you for your service sometimes seems like such a meaningless phrase, I know, but the people in this room know what it means, and the people in this room really mean it from the bottom of our hearts when we say it. Now it's time to present the awards for the evening. I would like to ask Ron Flagg to come to the stage to assist with our 2014 award presentations. Ron, if you would. Thank you, sir. Our first award tonight is the Pro Bono Partner Award. While many law firms partner with NVLSP, this year's honoree, Kirkland & Ellis, has been a true partner in advancing our pro bono work, utilizing its expertise and resources to assist our nation's veterans. Please join me in recognizing Kirkland & Ellis, our 2014 Pro Bono Partner of the Year honoree. And Michael Podborowski is is that you? All right, thank you so much for coming here.
Congratulations, thank you so
Oh, photo.
Photo.
Do you want me, should I duck? Do you want me? Do you want me in it? Okay. Well, if you insist.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
Thank you to the NVLSP for this honor, and to your excellent staff and all your volunteers who do such great work fulfilling our nation's commitment to our veterans. Excuse me. I served as a naval flight officer in Operations Enduring Freedom and Southern Watch prior to attending law school. And one of the key milestones I, and probably every other veteran, remember clearly is raising our right hand to take the oath of service right before some drill instructor got in our face to yell at us. Now, when troops enlist, they sign a contract containing mundane details about their enlistment, such as their length of service, their rank, any training schools they were promised, and any bonuses or benefits that are to be provided. But after signing that contract, at the induction ceremony, troops make a much graver commitment in the form of the oath of enlistment, in which they raise their right hand and solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution and obey all orders from the President of the United States. In doing so, they essentially write a blank check and say, I give my body and soul, I will go wherever you tell me to go, and I will do whatever you tell me to do, and I will make whatever sacrifice you ask that is necessary in defense of this great country. Now, unspoken is an equally solemn reciprocal promise to the soldier that he or she will be properly looked out for, properly led, and if harmed while standing the watch, the soldier and his or her family will be taken care of. Unfortunately, that promise to our injured veterans is often difficult to effectuate. The services, the Department of Defense, and the VA, they are large bureaucracies, and as many of you know, working with them can be challenging at times. But make no mistake, this commitment, this sacred vow to take care of our injured veterans is not one made on behalf of the Army. It's not one made on behalf of the VA. It's not even one made on the government as a whole. It is a promise from the American people that we will take care of our fellow citizens harmed while protecting and defending our nation and its many blessings. It is this commitment that the attorneys at Kirkland & Ellis and so many of you here today have undertaken to fulfill. I am proud to report that to date, 246 Kirkland lawyers, staff, and summer associates have donated nearly 8,500 pro bono hours to providing assistance to more than 115 veterans. Kirkland also sponsors, along with its client Raytheon, a full-time fellow at NVLSP, who is assisting veterans who are survivors of military sexual trauma, as well as those who need assistance in obtaining earned benefits. There is no pro bono initiative at any of our 12 offices worldwide that commands more universal support than our Veterans Assistance Projects, and lawyers at our firm who have never before done any pro bono work on any matter have stepped up to volunteer on these matters. We at Kirkland are glad that we are able to do our part to fulfill a solemn promise, and I'm confident that I speak on behalf of every attorney in this room who have volunteered to assist veterans, that it was an honor and a privilege to do so. But we can do more, and every lawyer and law firm and organization in this room can and should do more. We hope to attend this dinner next year with double the hours and double the volunteers, and what we really look forward to is a day in the future when there is no longer a need for this kind of work at all. We thank the NVLSP for this special recognition, and we accept it not just as a congratulations, but as a challenge to ourselves and to others in the community to put our service members and their needs, legal and otherwise, at the very top of our priority list. Thank you very much.
8,500 pro bono hours. Just imagine how many billable hours that would be. Just a little lawyer joke, sorry. Our second award tonight is the Senator Daniel K. Inouye Award. It's an award NVLSP introduced to honor the legacy of a remarkable senator and veteran who did so much for the United States and its service members. Our honoree tonight is George Parker. He assisted some very special veterans in receiving their benefits, which had been wrongfully denied. George Parker, if you would come on.
before I started representing veterans, I didn't need glasses. Thanks, Jake, for your generous remarks. Thank you, NVLSP Board, for this most prestigious award. This award will always hold special significance for me for 3 reasons. First, because of the gentleman who inspired the award, Senator Daniel Inouye, World War II hero, Medal of Honor winner, Purple Heart recipient, and a beloved senator from Hawaii for almost 50 years. And second, because of the organization that it came from, who I had the privilege of serving on their board for, they say 10 years. Didn't seem like it was that long. They were incredibly successful under the leadership of Ron Abrams and Bart Stitchman in recovering billions of dollars for our veterans. And third, when I look at this award, it'll always remind me of the 2 Navajo gentlemen who I had the privilege of representing. And Ron Abrams asked me just to tell a little bit of their stories, so bear with me while I spend a few minutes doing that. First, we have Teddy Draper Sr., who you see here. In 1943, the Marines recruited Teddy out of the 10th grade and made him one of the 420 code talkers. The Navajo code talkers were given the job to create a military code using the Navajo language, most of which was not written, and many military terms did not have an equivalent in Navajo. So they first created this code. A bomb became an egg. A tank was a tortoise. A battleship was a whale. A fighter plane was a hummingbird. They ended up with more than 600 words in their code. And in the field, in the South Pacific, which is where they plied their trade, you would have one code talker at one end of a transmission who would instantly translate from English to the code and transmit it to a code talker at the other end who would instantly translate it into English again. In fact, they were put up against some machine that the military had who thought it was better than the code talkers, and the machine took 4 hours to transcribe a code, and the code talkers did it in 1.5 minutes, which convinced the Marines that what they had was going to be good. The Japanese never broke that code, and a lot of military experts say the code talkers are the result that the U.S. military was able to defeat the Japanese in the Pacific theater. Teddy Draper was in the first wave of Marines to land on Iwo Jima in 1945. He had his buddy with him on the beach. His buddy was killed. His blood splattered Teddy's shirt, which he had to wear for the next 36 days of the battle without changing it. He endured untold horrors there, such as extricating decaying bodies of Japanese soldiers from the tunnels that riddled the island of Iwo Jima. 21,000 Japanese were killed, 7,000 U.S. soldiers were killed. And a mortar shell landed next to Teddy, knocked him unconscious, and when he was discharged, he filed a claim for hearing loss with the VA, which was summarily denied. I don't know if being a Native American back then may have made a difference, but it might have. He refiled his claim for over 50 years, and it was routinely denied until finally in the 1990s they gave him a few benefits, but not too many. And then I had the good fortune of hearing Teddy talk about his Iwo Jima experiences and being a code talker in 2002 up in Colorado. And at the end of his presentation, the fellow who had been helping him as his representative with the VA, a guitar repairman who didn't know much about VA law, made a plea. Is there anybody in the audience who could help him with his VA benefits and the Purple Heart he never received for his injuries? So my wife elbowed me, said, you learn labor law, you can learn VA law. And so I gave him my card. And very soon we were off on a 2-year saga of learning VA law, gathering evidence, reviewing medical records, writing briefs, and fumbling around, and finally, I guess, getting it right. And then my daughter said, how about PTSD? Has he ever filed a claim for that? And I said, I don't think so, he never has. She said, maybe you ought to try that. And it turned out Teddy's son has a master's degree in clinical psychology, and he said, I've always thought my father had PTSD from when I was a little boy. So with his help in writing a very good chronology of everything that he had observed, we convinced the VA that Teddy had PTSD. And their psychiatrist said he's 100% disabled and should get maximum benefits. And we also were able to get it retroactive for a number of years because Ron Abrams told me about something called an inferred claim, and I discovered that Teddy had said, I'm taking antidepressants years before, and we convinced the VA, well, that's how far back you have to go on this, and they agreed. Next we worked on his Purple Heart, and the Marine Corps issues Purple Hearts, not the VA, and they're a little tougher. You have to have statements from 2 eyewitnesses. But with Teddy's help, we were able to track down 2 of his buddies who were there, who gave us sworn affidavits, and on Christmas Eve 2004, the Marine Corps called and said, here's the good news, we're going to give him his Purple Heart. But then they mailed it to him, which was an insult. Anyway, in the end, we were able to arrange a ceremony at Window Rock, where you see in this picture here with Teddy in his Code Talker uniform, where the president of the Navajo Nation presented him with his Purple Heart. And then we weren't through because there's a fellow named Nelson Sosi who is a member of the same Navajo clan as Teddy Draper. And Teddy called and said, do you think you might help Nelson? He's totally deaf. So I said, well, we'll look at his case, and we took it. He was in the Army, fought at the Battle of Luzon Island during World War II. His job was operating a searchlight that had a generator that produced this deafening hum, constant low bass hum. And then he was also exposed to machine gun fire and bombs and all the other explosives of World War II. Of course, they didn't give you hearing protection back then. And he had applied he became an interpreter and translator and teacher at a Navajo school. And in the 1980s, he lost his hearing completely and continuously filed for benefits, always denied. Well, with the help of 2 pro bono doctors, we convinced the VA that his hearing loss was the result of his service in the military. And they decided he was 100% disabled, totally unemployable, and they gave him maximum benefits, also retroactive back to the first time he had filed a claim for hearing loss benefits. And one interesting sidelight, I was amazed that these 2 doctors I had were able to conclude that he lost the hearing in one ear because of this low-level hum, and he lost the hearing in the other ear because of explosions. I don't know how they concluded that, but the VA agreed, and that was the end of that case. And there is Nelson, a former rodeo champion in his younger days. First time I met him was a year after we'd handled his case. I never met him in person, And of course, I couldn't talk to him. We had to write out everything because he is totally deaf. Now, the reward in handling these cases can't be measured in dollars and cents. We charge no fee. We absorbed all the costs. The reward comes from knowing that you actually had an impact on the lives of veterans, in this case, 2 World War II heroes. Teddy's son, Teddy Jr., told me that before we met his father, he was languishing, a disillusioned, defeated man. He was 81 when I first started helping him. Now he's 94. But after we won his benefits and got him his Purple Heart, which apparently meant more to him than getting his benefits, he started driving his truck around the Navajo Nation, seeing his friends, planting crops again in his ancestral land that they still own in Canyon de Chelly National Park. They have taken his driver's license away from him because I'm told that when he would park his truck in a parking lot, when he would come out from doing what he was doing, every other vehicle nearby had moved because they knew he was likely to bump into them. So, and Nelson Sosi, it was like meeting an old friend, even though I'd never met him before when we finally met. And he's back to tending his cattle and sheep near Many Farms, Arizona. And when we went out for a celebratory dinner, the rest of us had steak. He ordered a salad. So let me close by recognizing Bracewell and Giuliani, my firm, that made the full resources of the firm available to seek justice for these 2 war heroes and to treat them just like they were the firm's most important paying client. And finally, I need to recognize Ron Abrams, who I called. Somebody in our firm said, call Ron Abrams. He knows VA law, when I decided I'll take this case. And Ron stood by my side, giving me tutorials, helping me, reading my briefs. He was there from start to finish, and I never could have possibly done that without his help. Thank you.